Hi. Today we're going to be talking about the five dysfunctions of a team. A great book that I have read this semester in order to better learn how to be a better leader and expand my thinking and find ways that I can better myself. First, my name's Nathaniel Yarnell. Um, Grad student at Texas State. I've lived in Austin my whole life, but I've mostly played sports, especially football. And due to that, I think I've been put in a lot of leadership roles since I was very young. And so I think leadership is extremely important to work on, to understand not only if you want to be a leader, but also if you want to, just be a part of any team or organization. Because it's important to know, what your leader is demanding of you, maybe your boss, maybe your coach, maybe, lots of other people that are leaders in your life, a mentor, and to understand what they're going through so that you can be, you know, the best student, the best player, the best employee that you can be is very important. So because of my background in sports and playing football, I think that I've had to be parts of large groups of people, teams of over 100 people. So, lots of different backgrounds and experiences that all come together to get towards one goal. And because of that, I think it's really helped me understand how to interact with people and get to know them so that way I can know what they're going through and help them whenever they're struggling and to build trust that they can help me when I'm struggling. So first, let's dive right into this. Bibliography. Not much to be said about that. So first, let me just give you an intro to this book. I chose this book because it combines leadership theory with practical application. It's not you know just a boring novel that just lays out like a psychology handbook. It's a story that really illustrates team challenges and makes the lessons more memorable. The intention of the book, you know, is to help leaders and teams understand the common pitfalls that undermine collaboration and performance. And the approach is straightforward and very relevant to what we're trying to learn here. So one of my goals in reading this book was to explore how teams can overcome challenges. Especially at a high functioning um, you know, this book is about a high functioning CEO that is retired and then comes in and tries to, fix a really dysfunctional organization. And it shows how organizational health can be a greater advantage to strategy or finance. Being smart, being intelligent aren't necessarily going to mean you're successful if you don't work as a team. That's really the biggest message that this book has to deliver to us. Um, so let's talk about, obviously the five dysfunctions. First there's the absence of trust. Basically, teams fail when members are unwilling to be vulnerable and open with one another. Fear of conflict. Without trust, people avoid healthy debate, leading to poor decision making. I think this one's really big. I think people are kind of scared to step on, you know, to really say what they think, and for fear of consequences. And if you have a leader who's insecure or is easily um, just feels like they're being attacked easily, it's going to be hard to voice concerns with them and make sure that you know that things are being done the best way that it possibly can. So it's extremely important for a leader to be able to take criticism and then put that criticism to action, not be afraid of change. Number three, lack of commitment. When there's no healthy conflict, team members don't truly commit to decisions. It's extremely important for everybody to be bought into the culture and make sure that um, you know you're willing to commit to what everybody else is working towards. And then avoidance of accountability. Without a commitment, people hesitate to hold one another accountable. You have to hold each other accountable. The leader has to be the highest form of accountability. If someone tells you to do something and they're not willing to adhere to the same standards, obviously you're not going to listen to them. So that's extremely important. And then inattention to results. Team members put personal success above team success. This is obviously, an easy pitfall to fall into. Being humble and putting the organization before your own um, your own personal success is sometimes difficult. but it's extremely important in order to reach those far goals, those big goals that the organization is trying to get to. Um, so let's talk about some things that we talked about in class that I know that I saw in this book and that were I thought were really prevalent. So first start with transformational leadership emphasizes trust, shared vision, and accountability. And I think that the pyramid that we see, the five dysfunctions of a team, um, really kind of align with this, and how trust enables higher level collaboration. We're looking at leader member exchange theory. Um, strong trusting relationships between the leaders and the people and the followers and the members are extremely important to team success. And without them, these teams fall into dysfunctions like low commitment and low accountability. So it's extremely important for the leaders and members to be completely trusting in each other. Group development theory. This shows that teams progress through stages of forming, storming, norming, performing, adjourning. We talked about this in class. And so, you just kind of see that if your team is dysfunctional in any of these things that that the book talks about, then you're not going to be able to get through these stages and kind of grow as a team. You're not going to be able to develop. You're going to be stuck, in one of these, or just you're not ever even going to be able to form up as a team and grow stronger. I would strongly recommend this book to anyone who wants to understand leadership and teamwork more deeply. What I hoped to get from the book was a framework for diagnosing why teams sometimes fail, despite having talented people. You see this even, in football teams, extremely talented teams with many great players and all these ratings, but they never reach their full potential. And so, I think this book really speaks to that with all these really smart individuals on this team. The CEO has to come in and diagnose why this team isn't working. And so, why their expectation wasn't fully met. And I was surprised by how effective this book was at showing that, and it made leadership theory come alive in a way that just peer-reviewed articles or really just textbooks might. So this book contributes to leadership studies, by giving us a practical model in a easy to access, easy to understand way. And I would really suggest this really to anyone, students, managers, aspiring leaders, and the message is really clear, and that's that teams succeed not by avoiding dysfunction, but by addressing it head on. Here are my references, and thank you so much for listening.